You, me, your friends and teachers, each of us has a story that is not so dissimilar to each other. We strive to do and be everything everyone else thinks we should be. And we're enrolled into a system of education that reinforces that thinking. We're taught to follow the rules and stay in line at an early age, to keep our curiosities in check, even replace them completely with more serious work and careers. Those of us who decide to keep the creative candle lit find ways to make it work and keep it alive. But like most things that are worthwhile, it can be a struggle. Your epiphany, though, is hidden between the lines of the main story that is your life. Really, it's about honestly looking back at what's been done, what you've achieved, avoided, didn't pursue, or left alone. The work to do is about owning your greatness as the creative being you are by understanding the journey you took, to uncover the reasons why you keep going, why you keep creating, to understand what's true for you, and to surround yourself with others also on that journey. I was the oldest of three brothers. We grew up in the Dover neighborhood of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I mostly remember my childhood with fond memories. Life was full of mystery, adventure, and creativity. School was okay, but it was always a thing to get through, a thing I tolerated to make my parents happy, like most of us, I suspect. I loved being creative, though, and there were many moments that became the sourceful catalyst to who I would am becoming. Whether it was watching my mom at home painting pictures of mountains, lakes, and animals, seeing the workbench my dad used for tying flies for fishing, or the random building projects with wood that me and my brothers would take on. My Opa's studio in his basement was a big source of creative inspiration for me. He worked on all sorts of things that required wood, screws, motors, and paint. I remember the hours we spent on his train set and the trips we took to fly and crash his RC planes, only to head back to the workshop to rebuild and fly again. I experienced creativity all around me. We were encouraged to be creative. But it was from the lens of a hobby, not a career. So it was never something that I pursued with much investment or commitment, though I thought maybe I could. I applied to art college after high school and got declined. This was the first reinforcing blow that creativity was only something you do after everything else is taken care of. There came a moment where I felt like I had to remove myself from the life I was living, from my family, from my friends, from the faith I was raised in. I left everything behind and pursued a new focus, to figure out for myself what I'm here to do. I didn't really understand just how critical and how isolating this move would be for me. A road trip with two friends, a few garbage bags, and my G3 Mac Tower landed me on a couch in a basement suite of a cousin I barely knew. About 6 months later, I got my first place, and my best friend from Calgary, Jordan, packed up his bags and moved in. It would become an adventure that would forever change both of us for very different reasons. Everything we were raised to believe would ultimately be questioned along the path. September 10, 2001. I awake in an emergency room with a brain tumor diagnosis. I was only 22 years old. One doctor told me I will likely not make it. The second opinion painted a very different picture. 22 years later, the lesson here is to be careful whose advice you take as the truth. In 2007, I went to Europe for 1 year to run a bed and breakfast in Germany and to do a little traveling with my youngest brother. It was the beginning of a new journey in my life, restarting the relationship with my family, in particular with my youngest brother. The game that we chose to play was to relaunch this business for the upcoming tourism season. And the first time I put on the design and marketing hat I'd stored away years ago. This became the second catalyst moment for me, a renewed sense of purpose. I returned to Vancouver and immediately sought out what programs I could register to revisit the creative work that clicked for me in Germany. I registered to the local college and got ready for what was next. There was this sense of certainty and focus, and it just feels right experience that I had not felt in a very long time. That feeling would soon be challenged in the most unexpected way. It was the first week or so into classes, and one evening I was compelled to look at the life I had lived to date, reviewing old photos and letters. That evening, a fire started, and my roommate and I barely made it out with our lives. I lost everything I had in one single event. Every memory I collected, every item I owned. No home, no clothes, no computer. This became the ultimate test for my belief in myself. Do I roll over and surrender? Pack my bags and go home? Chalk this whole adventure up to a silly idea? Or do I pick myself up and keep stumbling my way forward? I went into rebuild mode, continued with my newly registered program in electronic media design, experienced an outpouring of support from those around me. I met my future wife in the program. After we got married, we started our design studio together. We had no idea what we were doing, positively naive at what it took to run a business. It was a magical time of discovery. Shortly after, we partnered with some of my future mentors and we moved into an office in Gastown. It was an exciting new chapter to write. Then, 1 year in, the twins came, and as they do, changed the rules of the game. At this stage, I started reading more books about personal development and about business. It was during this time where I would meet the people that would completely change my perception of life. I am reminded of just how important who we surround ourselves with during these key moments in our career actually are. Our design business evolved and repositioned 8 times across 14 years of marriage. There were a few moments as we explored, created, and partnered on initiatives that felt like maybe this one would be it, the one that lights everyone up and that can really make work. The longest sprint lasted 3 years and was the closest to the mark of something that had a deeper, more purposeful intention. Unfortunately, in many regards, it was just more of the same. And that left me feeling stuck, grappling with what's true for me, if I was really cut out to blaze my own trail. I considered many times to throw in the towel, even tried a few times, but nothing seemed to really fit in the real world either. Many times I was told by my mentors to embrace the fact that I don't fit in the traditional model and was not hireable within the current paradigm of the creative industry. I knew they were right. There was something else I was meant to do. Then in 2015, my brother Jonathan was murdered. It was not a surprise, but it still rocked me and my family to our core. For perhaps the first time in my life, I actually leaned into my emotions and my feelings. I wanted to experience them, to hold them and be with them. I took a drive up to the mountains. I was pulled there. I didn't know why, but I went. It was in those mountains where I made my peace. I picked up writing more intentionally as an outlet, felt compelled to share these works and dip my toe into performing my poetry publicly, as a way to honor my brother, but to also honor my own journey and my own self-expression. This was the first time I really stepped out and gave the world what I had to offer. It was the most cathartic experience of my life. Sharing these moments in a creative way that allowed others to know me more intimately. I explored this for 3 years and then I stopped. A subconscious decision to stop playing around and get serious again. Once again, picking up the grind of trying to stuff my talents in a box that could not contain them. The pressures of spinning my wheels, my responsibilities as a father and husband, and the scarcity mindset kept me focused on doing work that always seemed to compromise pursuing creativity my way. Will I ever be able to make it as a creative in this world? Will I ever really uncover what's true for me? A part of me knew the answer, but it was too scary to look at. Still is so scary to look at. That the reason I've not really found my place in the world was because I was still holding myself back, playing it small, playing it safe. There's a quote from Marianne Williamson that is always there in the back of my mind. She says, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? Your playing small doesn't serve the world." I recently had a statement rephrased for me that is changing everything. It's not about what would we do if we knew we couldn't fail. It's about what's worth doing even if it fails. What is the work only I can do, the work I was made to do? I've spent so much of my life conforming to how I think I'm supposed to be. As I tune out the noise of the market and world in general, I am present to a deep clarity that the only work to do is to be myself in my business, in my work, in my marketing. The work for you to do is much bigger than your brand or your elevator pitch. It can't be boxed, packaged, and sold like it was a widget on the assembly line. The game in today's noisy and judgmental world is to free yourself of the gimmicks, tricks, and hacks. If it doesn't feel right, just don't do it. The question to ask yourself instead is, who do you want to be known as and know yourself to be? And will you set yourself free? I'm inviting you to embark on a journey with me, to invest fully into your craft, to take your creative practice to the next level, to uncover who you really are, the impact you desire to make in your life, to push beyond what it is you think you need to be based on everyone else's rules, to share your passions, your point of view, your story to the world. This isn't some magic bullet, it's work. And if you're building a body of work for yourself, it's work worth pursuing and deepening. I'm inviting you to join me in a community of individuals who are investing fully in their craft. I'm inviting you to be seen and be heard for more than just what you do, but for who you are. So join us.